Hey guys, welcome to Learn with Rahul. Today we are going to talk about Ode to Nightingale by John Keats. Before I start, I have a humble request for you guys. Please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. Let's start. Ode to Nightingale is a poem by John Keats written either in the garden of the Spaniards in Hampstead, London, or according to Keats' friend Charles Armitage Brown, under a plum tree in the garden of Keats' house at Wentworth Place, also in Hampstead. According to Brown, a nightingale had built its nest near the house Keats and Brown shared in the spring of 1819. Inspired by the bird song, Keats composed the poem in one day. It soon became one of his 1819 odes and was first published in Annals of the Fine Arts the following July. The poem is one of most frequently anthologized in the English language. Ode to a Nightingale is a personal poem which describes Keats' journey into the state of negative capability. The tone of the poem rejects the optimistic pursuit of pleasure found within Keats' earlier poems and instead explores the themes of nature, transience, and mortality, and later being particularly personal to Keats. The nightingale described within the poem experiences a type of death but does not actually die. Instead, the songbird is capable of living through its song, which is a fate that humans cannot expect. The poem ends with an acceptance that pleasure cannot last and that death is inevitable part of life. In the poem, Keats imagines the loss of the physical world and sees himself dead. As a sword over which the nightingale sings, the contrast between the immortal nightingale and mortal man sitting in his garden is made all the more acute by an effort of the imagination. The presence of weather is noticeable in the poem, as spring came early in 1819, bringing nightingales all over the heat. Now let's talk about John Keats. John Keats, 31 October 1795 to 23 February 1821, was an English romantic poet. He was one of the main figures of the second generation of romantic poets, along with Lord Byron and Percy Bysshe. Despite his works having been in publication for only 4 years before his death from tuberculosis at the age 25. Now let's talk about the summary of Ode to Nightingale. The speaker opens with a declaration of his own heartache. He feels numb as though he had taken a drug only a moment ago. He is addressing a nightingale he hears singing somewhere in the forest and says that his drowsy numbness is not from envy of the nightingale's happiness, but rather from sharing it too completely. He is too happy that the nightingale sings the music of summer from amid some unseen plot of green trees and shadows. In the second stanza, the speaker longs for the oblivion of alcohol, expressing his wish for a wine, a draught of vintage that would taste like the country and like peasant dances, and let him leave the world unseen and disappear into the dim forest with the nightingale. In the third stanza, he explains his desire to fade away, saying he would like to forget the troubles the nightingale has never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret of human's life, with this consciousness that everything is mortal and nothing lasts. Youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, and beauty cannot give her lustrous eyes. In the fourth stanza, the speaker tells the nightingale to fly away, and he will follow, not through alcohol, not charioted by Bacchus and his bards, but through poetry, which will give him viewless wings. He says he is already with the nightingale and describes the forest glade, where even the moonlight is hidden by the trees, except the light that breaks through when the breezes blow the branches. In the fifth stanza, the speaker says that he cannot see the flowers in the glade, but can gaze them in emblemed darkness. White hawthorn, eglantine violets, and the marks rose. The murmurous horns of flies on summer eves. In the sixth stanza, the speaker listens to in the dark to the nightingale, saying that he has often been half in love with the idea of dying and called death soft names in many dreams. Surrounded by the nightingale's song, the speaker thinks that the idea of death seems richer than ever, and he longs to seize upon the midnight with no pain, while the nightingale pours its soul ecstatically forth. If he were to die, the nightingale would continue to sing, he says, but he would have ears in vain and be no longer able to hear. In the seventh stanza, the speaker tells the nightingale that it is immortal, that it was not born for death. He says that the voice he hears singing has always been heard by ancient emperors and clowns, by homesick root. He even says the song has often charmed open music windows looking out over the foam of perilous seas in fiery lands foreign. In the eighth stanza, the word forlorn strolls like a bell to restore the speaker from the preoccupation with the nightingale and back into himself. As the nightingale flies farther away from him, he laments that his imagination has failed him and says that he can no longer recall whether the nightingale's music was a vision or a waking dream. Now that the music is gone, the speaker cannot recall whether he himself is awake or asleep. Now let's talk about the form of the poem. Like most of other odes to a nightingale is written in 10-line stanzas. However, unlike the most of the other poems, it is metrically variable, though not so much as Ode to Psyche. But the first 7 lines and last 2 lines of each stanza are written in iambic pentameter. The eighth line of each stanza is written in trimeter, with only 3 accented syllables instead of 5. Nightingale also differs from other odes in that its rhyme scheme is the same in every stanza. Every other ode varies the order of rhyme in the final 3 or 4 lines, except to Psyche, which has the loosest structure of all the odes. Each stanza in Nightingale is rhymed A B A B C D E C D E. Keats' most basic theme throughout the odes. Now let's talk about themes. With Ode to Nightingale, Keats' speaker begins with his fullest and deepest exploration of the themes of creative expression and the morality of human life. In this ode, the transient of life and the tragedy of the old age, where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, is set against the eternal renewal of the nightingale's fluid music. Though was not born for that immortal bath, the speaker reprises the drowsy numbness he experienced in Ode on Indolence, but where in indolence the numbness was a sign of disconnection from the experience. In Nightingale, it is sign too full a connection, being too happy in the thine happiness. As the speaker tells the nightingale, hearing the song of nightingale, the speaker longs to flee the human world and join the bird. He first thought it is to reach the bird state through alcohol. In the second stanza, he longs for a draught of vintage to transport him out of himself. But after his meditation, the third stanza on the transient of life, he rejects the idea of being charioted by Bacchus and his parts. Bacchus was the Roman god of wine and was supposed to have been carried by a chariot pulled by leopards, and chooses instead of emperors for the first time, since he refused to follow the figures of indolence, the viewless wings of poesy. So that's all for today, guys. I hope this video will be a big help for you. So thank you guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Love you, take care, bye, over and out.